Hey, babe.
Yeah.
Coming out? Really?
June 9th, day 15 for those of you keeping track. We are, as yesterday and the day before, running northward. Magnetic course about 340, ahead of a southerly breeze, light winds out of the south. Looking at a couple of rain squalls off to the southeast over there that seem to be catching up with us. Maybe we'll get a little rain, wash some of the salt off the boat this morning. Interesting thing this morning that we woke up to was, in addition to our southerly wind and south swell, we have a westerly swell. We have a swell coming in from the west about 3 feet with a period of about 5 to 6 seconds. Just a leisurely little swell, might be kicked up by some winds off there to the west, or maybe a storm over by Japan last week. But anyway, we have a westerly swell and a southerly wind and a southerly swell combining to give us a little bit of roll, but not too uncomfortable. Still running with the pulled out big jib and the main, full main, eased out and held down with a bang. We had our pancakes this morning that we didn't have yesterday. Yum. First thing in the morning, Laura bounced up. Well, actually, she bounced me out of bed to come out and take the tiller while she made the pancakes, and they were great. We had pancakes and coffee for breakfast, got that all put away, got our little awning rigged to protect us from the sun and maybe a little rain that's coming up here. And our position this morning is roughly 3225 north and 161 west. So, you know, we're still running up the 160 meridian north to our waypoint at 40 north and making progress. Although not as fast as we'd like to, it's comfortable. And we still have 3 weeks to get to the rendezvous. So I think we got plenty of time. Meanwhile, Laura and I have been having a good time settling into the boat, you know, and just working the ship across the ocean. It's a great feeling. Have had to do some minor repairs. We'd had some gear failures, you know, about our tiller pilot failing. The solar panel through deck connection failed, but we fixed that. Another thing that failed was the tack down haul for the jib. Fortunately, I had another piece of rope that was the right size and length, so I reeved a new tackle for the tack down haul and ran that back. Otherwise, everything's working out quite nicely. We see things that we need to do once we get into port. We're going to have to go buy some more rope and some gear. But basically, everything's working out just pretty much as planned. Here we are, just a little bit better than 2 weeks into our voyage. Got to watch out for this weather over here, though. I don't think it's that bad. Just a little rain. June 10th, day 16. Whoa. But we had an exciting night, didn't get much sleep. If you recall from yesterday, we were running wing and wing. We had all of our big sails up. We had the full main and the big jib and running downwind due north towards our waypoint at a very good clip. With the exception of one day, every day since we started, the wind has died down at sunset. And when it came time for us to make the decision about our sails configuration for the evening, we decided that since we could expect the wind to die down, we would leave the sails up. Well, we were wrong. The wind didn't die down. In fact, it increased quite a bit. And we found ourselves in the uncomfortable position of having too much sail up running downwind. At 10 o'clock last night, we took the main down, which cut into an hour of my off watch time. And then a little after 4 in the morning, just after I went below and got undressed and went to bed, Laura called me back on deck because the jib sheet had let go. So we spent another hour getting the jib down and everything lashed down and everything. By then it was almost dawn. It was starting to get light in the east. So I decided to just take everything down, go below, get some rest, have a cup of tea, wait for daylight. And when daylight came, this is what we've got. Leaden skies, pretty brisk wind out of the south, still pushing us north, which is good. And right now we're running under our smallest jib. It's not really quite a storm jib, but it's very small. Maybe a 60% jib, maybe less. Anyway, it was a pretty uncomfortable night. Hoping things get better today. But right at the moment it doesn't look like it. Our position, yesterday morning we were about 32 north. This morning we're 34 north, so we've actually come quite a ways. 34 north, 160 west, right on course for our next waypoint and our final destination at Cape Flattery, or our landfall at Cape Flattery. We have, let me see what it says here, 400 miles to go to our waypoint. So we made more progress yesterday than we made in the last 4 days. So it's all a trade-off, you know. A lot of wind may be uncomfortable, but it gets you there faster. On the other hand, you don't want to push the boat too hard. Now, when we checked our speed at one point yesterday, we were getting bursts up to 9 knots, surfing the waves downwind. So that's dangerous. You don't want to do that. We want to keep our speed down under 6 knots, preferably. 6 knots would be great in smooth seas, but we don't want to break anything. We don't want to hurt ourselves. So we're looking at 4 or 5 knots boat speed, and right now that's what we got: 4 knots, 5 knots, 4 knots, 5 knots. So we're doing good, and we're learning a lot. June 11th, day 17. Obviously, we've left the tropics behind. Right now we're sailing a reach, wind out of the east today, on a course of about 45 degrees, which is okay because we were sailing west most of yesterday, just to bring us back in line where we should be. Still moving northerly. Actually, our course is varying between 15 and 45 degrees, so we're actually making about 30 degrees towards the north. And we just ran into this fog at 10:50, about 10 minutes ago. And wouldn't you know, as soon as the fog closes in, I start spotting fishing net floats. So looks like we're in an area where there's fishing gear out, and we're sailing through it in a fairly dense fog. Yesterday we had pretty normal, benign conditions, not a whole lot of wind, but it was in the right direction. It was due south wind again, so we were running north and made fairly good progress. Not as good as the day before, but fairly good progress. Last night the weather closed in on us. It was cold, it was wet, it rained, and the wind stopped at 4 a.m., which coincidentally was when Laura was supposed to come on watch, and she just didn't want to come out and sit in the cockpit in the rain with the sails slatting and us going nowhere, so we decided to heave to, have a cup of hot chocolate, and see if things got better with daylight, which they did. We woke up with an easterly wind, set the jib on the starboard tack, and now we're headed northeasterly with about 345 miles to go to our waypoint at 40 north. 160 west. I'm even wearing shoes and socks today. I put shoes on today for the first time since leaving Hawaii. So, oops, fishing floats. How you doing, honey?
Nice and toasty. Thanks for the noodles.
You're welcome.
I like them like this, actually. They're just crunchy. They got a little bit crunch to them. They're good.
Hey, good. Come on down inside. And here's little Bree. Hello, little Bree. How you doing? Checking things out. Ooh. Want to take a look at what Mom's up to? Huh? June 12th, day 18. Still no word from Publishers Clearinghouse. The weather generally continues to get worse the farther north we go. We had a frustrating day yesterday, light winds, not much progress until the afternoon when the wind started to pick up. In the morning we were reaching under full main and working jib, but later in the afternoon we reefed down the main, took a couple of generous cranks in the roller reefing. Excuse me, but it turned out to be not enough. By 9 p.m., 2100 hours, the boat was almost uncontrollable in the high winds. We're having problems with some of the rigging. One of the sheets is chafing through. It's not still okay, but you got to keep an eye on it. One of the jib sheets. The main sheet tackle keeps slipping through the cam cleat under high pressure. So, of course, that's easily dealt with. Just throw a couple of half hitches around the tackle. But basically last night the wind piped up so strong that we couldn't control the boat anymore, so we took the main down and hove to for a while. And then this morning, very little wind at first, but it's picking up now, and rain. Oh yeah, did I mention it rained all night very hard? And found out that my Henry Lloyd foul weather gear that I bought at the swap meet doesn't keep water out at all. I got soaked to the skin just sitting in the cockpit in the rain. But we're making progress. Right now we're on a heading of about 45 degrees, heading northeast towards our destination, making about 4 knots. And heading into what looks to be maybe a little bit clearer weather, but maybe not. I don't know. It's hard to tell. Today, as yesterday, it's completely overcast. Last night was one of the darkest nights I've ever experienced. There was absolutely no stars, no moon, no nothing. Completely black. The only light was coming from our masthead. Generally, rather unpleasant by Hawaii standards. That's really all I have to say this morning. Although occasionally, 18 days out, I'm still getting seasick. Unbelievable. June 13th, day 19. Cold, wet, miserable generally. We made pretty good progress yesterday, had decent wind. We're able to hold a nearly true north course all day. Wind picked up in the afternoon. We reefed, we took down the main, continued sailing until the wind died completely at 0200 this morning. Coincidentally, just at the start of Laura's watch. And so we hove to, making no progress, no point in staying outside in the wet and cold. That was 5 hours ago, and there's still no wind. But at least we came inside, we're warm and dry. I'm going to get up and start the motor here in a minute. We need to charge our batteries. It's been foggy and rainy for so long that our solar panels haven't been able to charge our batteries. So our house bank is pretty much flat. So we're going to start the engine. We have a second bank of batteries dedicated to engine starting, so we'll start the motor and then flip over and charge our house bank from the engine alternator. We're about, I haven't checked yet this morning, but I estimate we're less than 300 miles from our waypoint, but still nearly 2,000 miles from Cape Flattery. Just a little bit more than halfway, actually, on the trip. This cold and wet stuff is not good, you know. Steve, I don't know how you guys do it up there. It's just amazing. But anyway, out here in the middle of the North Pacific, I don't know if I mentioned it before, but there's an awful lot of trash in the water up here. Far more than we see around Hawaiian waters. Of course, there's always the occasional, fishing net float, and plastic bottle or whatever bobbing around. But up here, I've seen a lot of stuff. Styrofoam packing material from, stereos and things like that, and a construction worker's hard hat, and jerry jugs, and just junk. Small pieces, big pieces, and a lot of it. The first 10 days, we might see 1 or 2 pieces a day. Up here, we're seeing dozens. But it is depressing to be so far from civilization and be seeing so much human waste on the water. Looking forward to a good day's run today, although there's no wind. The barometer is rising. And so I think that's hopefully a good sign. We know it's not going to get warmer, but we we haven't seen the sun. This will be the third day. Heavy cloud cover and rain, fog. There were no stars again last night. Fourth day? Is the fourth day? Oh. So anyway, I'm gonna get up and go outside and do something about it. Start the motor and get underway. We can't run the engine, you know, I can't run the engine all day. Well, we could, but I don't want to. I want to just run it long enough to charge up our batteries. And maybe, hopefully by then we'll catch some wind and be able to continue sailing.
Chuck, were you seasick again last night?
Chuck was seasick again last night. Coming off watch, chilled to the bone, and had to fill our lamps, which, the lamps are wonderful things. You know, they give a nice warm glow, and they also take the chill off the cabin. The cabin is nice and toasty compared to outside, although it's not really that warm in here. But the lamps are great. We have these two small Aladdin-type lamps, and we've got another ship's lamp in the forward cabin that's also a kerosene lamp. And it helps a tremendous amount. So we don't have a heater, which is probably good. I mean, we'd be tempted to use it and crank the temperature up to 80 degrees in here if we did, but we don't have a heater. And
cabin temp. Cabin temp.
Cabin temperature is about 70 degrees. Have no idea what it is outside, but it's damn cold. I can tell you. With the wind and rain and fog and everything, it seems even worse. So, especially to us me, who spent the last 30 years in Hawaii. Now I remember why. But the crew is happy, healthy, and in good spirits, more or less. Bree has become very affectionate. Bree's become very affectionate. He's always wanting to cuddle up. Doing a lot of sleeping, too. Every time one of us sits down, she's in our lap. Every time one of us goes to bed, she's right there with us. So, well, I suppose, as much as I would like to hang out here in the nice warm cabin, roll up in a blanket, I think it's time to continue. So, time to get motivated. June 14th, day 20. Morning was foggy, wet, and cold, but with a rising barometer. 10 o'clock, sun came out, clouds are disappearing, and it's a fine day with a good stiff breeze. We're able to hold a course of due north, which is good. We're less than 200 miles from our waypoint at 40 north. Position right now is approximately latitude 3730 north, longitude about 160.15 west, proceeding northwards. We are probably, I would say, 1,850 miles from Cape Flattery. We got fine sailing right now. Last night was pretty rough. But right now it's fine and making good progress, moving quickly in a nice breeze due north towards where we want to go. Hoping to find westerlies up here in the next day or two. Speed us towards Cape Flattery. Yesterday was pretty miserable. We did have a little bit of tease, as I said in yesterday's log. The barometer was rising. It rose quite a bit in the morning when we woke up, but we only caught a glimpse of sun and a few teasing blue patches in the north that looked like it might clear. Not enough for our solar panels to charge the batteries or anything like that, just a tiny bit. We did run the water maker for half an hour or so. In this cold water, it's slow going, but you need to run it every 2 or 3 days to prevent the microbial buildup in the filter. So last night was cold, wet, and miserable, but today looks pretty good. The water reminds me of home, that is to say Hawaii. It's green and beautiful. The skies are clear, but it's still cold. And we have seas coming aboard, so we haven't left the cabin without foul weather gear for several days now. But this is nice. This is very encouraging. Very encouraging. Captain's still getting seasick. Seasick last night. Gonna write a book about seasickness when we get done. It's amazing. 20 days at sea and I'm still getting seasick. Right now I feel okay. Had some oatmeal for breakfast. And hopefully conditions will continue to improve and we'll get a westerly wind and everything will be wonderful, and we'll arrive at Cape Flattery and Lopez Island in time for the rendezvous. But if not, we'll get there anyway and we'll have some fun cruising up there in that area.